there's a marketing team, account team which sits there, they get the requirements and then you turn it into actionable code or produce the other.
Pricing stuff and how to market the differences and all. What the application stuff like that. Kind of all of this.
Okay, fair enough. And how many in this room actually hold the title of a solution architect or integration architect and that kind of stuff? How many of you actually might be doing something else, but your designation is solution architect or integration architect or that kind of stuff? You. Okay, there's only one. So I'm assuming you as well. Okay, fair enough. Any thoughts on what is consultative selling as opposed to what does the word consultative selling mean to you as opposed to your sales team goes does some stuff, pre-sales does something. So typically, what does consultative selling mean for you? What's your thought on that? And why do you think it's an important skill for an architect to actually have that skill? Yeah, please go ahead. Selling your ideas, yes, great. Of course, everybody needs to be a salesman, right from the coder to the CEO. All of us are selling something to the other stakeholders. So if you don't sell well, then you're not listened to well, and then there's a mismatch in the requirements gathering and all that. So we'll see today as to why this topic is becoming very important, typically when you elicit requirements from the customers. Because he asked for a horse, you give him a donkey or something like that. It can really happen that you don't really match the requirements well, and then you could do a really shitty job of getting the requirements right. And typically consultative selling is, okay, little intro about myself. So I come with 20 plus years of experience. I work with large and small companies, and I train, mentor architects and technology leaders. I'm a consultant with the Digital India Initiative, Government of India. And then I also consult with a lot of startups and product companies on product development and product strategy and so on. So last couple of years I've been doing my own consulting, training stuff. Previously I was actually working in the architecture team of Infosys as a senior architect. Then I was actually heading a US-based startup which was into payment systems and so on. And typically last couple of years I've been doing my own consulting and training. So I've mostly worked in banking and payment systems using Java J2E and C++. So that is my brief background. So I'm also a governing body member of the Cloud Council of India. And okay, so typically the traditional approach is when you want to sell something, your sales team is like, okay, they are these bad guys, like everybody hates the word sales, right? You go to a shop and people come and say like, oh, you've got this nice thing, do you want to buy it and all that sort of. So it's sales for all of us is very shady, and we don't really like the word sales too much. But you have to get your stuff out there in the market. People need to know you, and then our salaries need to be paid, and only then we can justify the bread that we bring to the table and all stuff like that. So sales is quite important. So we're going to look at a structured way in which how you can do technology sales, and all of us sooner or later in some part or the other we'll all end up becoming technology owners of certain pieces of work, and unless you communicate to your stakeholders effectively, you will not be able to sell what you got. No matter how great an operating system you have, how great a software product you've got, so you can't really sell stuff. So there's something called OS2. I'm not sure if you people know about it. There was an operating system called OS2 before the Macintosh or the DOS, and that's supposed to be a really powerful mainframe-like operating system, very stable, never used to crash. But it never saw the light of the day like the way the DOSes of the world sold or the other things. So you really need to mix technology finesse along with sales prowess to achieve market success. So how do you really do that as opposed to, so it's an approach of how do you meet the customer in between. Because if you've seen, I was in Infosys once a couple of years ago, and we were given a mail by our head of product strategy saying that in all official communications you need to remove the word client or customer because it's very demeaning or derogatory to use the word client or customer, because they say we prefer the word partner more than that, because if it's a customer or client, that means you're taking him for a ride, right? He doesn't really know what it is, and you're kind of selling him stuff that you really don't know. So you should actually be using the word transformation partner, which means we are co-creators of our destiny. You win, we win, and together, we can make success. So how do you reach that level of, it's not easy for like a tiny IT shop to say that, okay, we'll be the transformation partners in your journey. it takes a certain strategy and a set of steps to reach there. So what is the structured way in which how you can actually approach that art and science is what we're going to be looking at. That's consultative selling as opposed to traditional selling. And so what has been done in the past is like, okay, I've got a product, I've got features, and then you push it to them and you say, this is what I've got, take it or leave it. That's, you think your product is the really good thing out there and the shiny new ware, and everybody might be interested in it. So companies are in their own fallacy of that kind of a thing. So you should not get into those kind of traps. Instead, you should meet the customer midway, discover his pain points, and then figure out what needs to be done. So we'll see how you actually can do that. So how many here actually have bought a Dell laptop from the build to order kind of a program that Dell has? I'm not talking about the guys who got a laptop given by their companies and so on, but you actually went to the website and said, I wanted this amount of RAM, this amount of memory, and this amount of processing power, and this version of the chip, and then you kind of tick marked against all of them, and then it is your own laptop, my laptop that Dell. Actually, how many of you raise your hands? You've done it? You've done it? Okay, there are 3 people who have done it in this room. So you get a feeling that Dell has answered my pain points, and then you actually, met them halfway through, right? So that's a better situation to be in, and instead of going to a shop and say, okay, this is what we've got, and this is what you want to buy, take it or leave it. So you feel more at ease, right, when you go through that journey. So this is what is consultative selling talking about. When you're actually architecting IT solutions, you're going to be looking at the customer and talking about his pain points, discover his pain points, make it big enough, and say, here is a solution, I'm going to plug all of that, and this is going to look nice to you. It doesn't make any sense that way. So that's what we're going to be looking at in terms of consultative selling. So this is one of the classic examples of how Dell does it. So it's the ability to free the cost and competition by relating to the investment. So how many of you actually believe that price is a non-negotiable or a no-brainer? Once you know that the item actually gives you a certain value, so prices, you don't really mind about the price, right? In case it's really that good. So of course price is a point in most discussions, it's very sensitive. But then if you're getting a lot of things along with it, then price is a non-negotiable. So even now I'm a Canon Canon camera user, and 4 years I was using their camera. I'm not paid by them to talk nice things about it. But then in between I got a violet screen issue on the Canon camera, and then I went to the showroom after 4 or 5 years of buying the piece, and then they said that this is a defective thing, we know that this is a problem, and we're going to replace that spare part for you free of cost. So will you not be happy going for another Canon once you want to, and you also talk about it nicely and things like that. So that is where price in consultative selling, price doesn't become a factor, it's the value that you're adding to the customer that becomes more important. So we need to actually look at that, and we're going to be looking at how these guys, they actually sell the difference, and the customer has a pain point, and then you actually sell the difference and meet the pain point halfway through. So that is what is consultative selling. And advantage of consultative selling is it increases the use of sellers' products or prices. You can obtain a higher margin for it. You can actually get a better return than discounting the price. You can say, okay, this is what I'm going to quote, and you don't have to negotiate on the price if you are quality conscious like Apple does and stuff like that, which means you already know what the product is coming to. And typically the traditional sales is always focusing on the price, and consultative selling is always on the value. So how much value you actually added to the customer is what typically constitutes consultative selling. Now price can be a non-negotiable because only the old world companies focus on the price, the new world companies focus on the value that you're providing. So if you see most companies these days, actually you have these large scale products that they do, and they say that, okay, we will charge you a certain percent of the profit based on what you make, and it doesn't have to be, you not say we'll charge you 30% of profit after tax or whatever it is. Like you make money, we make money, together, we win the game. So there are new age contracts like fixed budget and time and money projects which are actually signed that way instead of the old way of stuff, which means only if the customer makes money, then you also as a transformation partner get paid. So that is the transformational partner thing. So how is it different from traditional thing? So they sit side by side, they actually contribute to the profits, like with the way I was saying, you make money, we also make money. And they offer money in the form of investment. It is something like some of you are volunteering for some startups for your time and effort, doing moonlighting perhaps at the night or something, and then say, okay, in case this becomes successful, you give me a share of your company's share, or like I tend to gain something like that. So they actually play that kind of a game, and you can actually add on the cost and benefit analysis and revenue. So instead of the spec sheet, so they will clearly tell you, okay, this is the revenue that you want to make at the end of this journey, and they can actually beat down competition much better, and they can create newer streams of cash flow and entry into their customer partnerships. So you can actually, they'll help you to create blue oceans in your whole business. So what is a blue ocean in your business? Yes, please go ahead.
I guess you're talking about startups, selling side is there, but actually in reality what happens is if you work with some startup, and you need to have a contract in place, because if you talk about revenue sharing or these kind of things, they might just back out later on or go for something.
Yeah, I mean startups, that might be an extreme case, but I'm talking about the likes of Enron, Shell and the big companies. So they will say that, okay, in case McKinsey consulted for Shell once upon a time, and they said that, okay, can you improve our bottom line? They called McKinsey on the call and said, can you look at our entire process modeling structure and can you improve our bottom line? So what McKinsey did is they actually kept an IoT solution at the place where the oil was being extracted, and they kept the sensors all along the way to the oil extraction unit and where it was churned out into petroleum, genuine crude oil and the other kind of things. So they put an IoT-based solution all along the way, and they found out that, okay, for every 100 gallons of oil that was being extracted from the rig, only 95 gallons is reaching the actual center where it is being segregated using a simple IoT solution. And they found out that, okay, there is a lot of leaky, rusted pipelines because of which 5 gallons of oil is being wasted for every 100 gallons. So in a year, if you add up that money, that's a lot of money. And then they said that, okay, can you not improve it? And then they take a percentage of that profit and say, okay, since you guys made so much more money because of our consulting and our efforts, so contractually we can sign an agreement and you pay us 30% of that. I know Accenture also does that on certain cloud solutions, that they've got an IP on certain cloud solutions, and they also have this similar approach. I think I should perhaps not be taking more details about it, but typically most companies end up doing that. So it's like you make profit, you give us a percentage of that based on how much you sell and how much you
What
get.
type of contract is signed before you start off, or?
Yeah, before you start an engagement, they define the rules of the game, and they indicate typical old world contracts are like fixed budget or time and money kind of contracts. But this would be more at the time of starting your journey, you just say this is what we get into and then you sign it. Thanks. So by paying on the service partnership, they create newer streams of revenue. So how many of you actually know what is meant by creating some entirely new blue oceans in your journey in terms of as architects, and digital transformation is a big thing. So if you see a lot of companies, they say we need a digital transformation architect and so on. So what does it mean when you say discovering blue oceans across product lines? Any examples from your work life? Yeah, please go ahead.
Uncontested markets where there is no existing competition.
Absolutely. You make your competition irrelevant by discovering something completely new. So like Uber, for the classic example, is Uber is actually taking you from point A to point B using an app, and then you can navigate using that, you pay money. That is the travel solution that they solved. But now Uber is getting into the business of Uber Eats. Uber Eats is like they discovered that, okay, we can cross-sell to the same customer food and other things also, because anyways we have the database, we have the network and everything. So that's a completely new blue ocean that they could create with just about the same infrastructure and the data and the efforts that they were doing. So those kind of things, as architects, as we could whom you are going to create technology roadmaps.
In this case, you are saying it's blue ocean, but already market exists for leads like Swiggy, Zomato, and all is there.
Yeah, so this would not typically be that blue and ocean because there are a lot of people, Zomato and Swiggy and all are doing it. But if they're doing it good, they can probably wipe out the Swiggies of the world. So that way it could still be a blue ocean. So yes, because Facebook was not the first social media app, so they just made it better. There was MySpace, there was Friendster, and a lot of other things which are doing well. So these guys made it better. So in case Uber Eats does it better, probably it can still be a. I agree to your point. There are other classic examples of blue ocean, but we'll not get into that because we need to focus on the consultative selling part. And then here actually you get paid by milestone or milestone. Instead of saying like this is 5 million for this project or 2 million for, you say okay, after I finish this and then we able to take it to beta for 3 customers, we'll make you the payment. That kind of a thing was what the consultative selling approach would do. And so typically the selling is how does it work? So typically selling is transactional. So if you are consultating, then you are helping him more. And if you are the traditional old way where your main focus is first to close, even before you know his problem, I want to make him sign the deal, take the guy out for golf or like take him to dinner, the client, and then have a conversation with him, and then you're trying to close in the very beginning. But in consultative selling, it starts with building the rapport, and finally when you've got a pain point, only then you solve the problem. You don't try to solve the problem right in the beginning. You try to solve it only if you have actually fixed the problem, only then you pay me the money. That kind of stuff. That is quite a good approach. Instead of the old world approach is like I sign on the dotted line, you pay me so much for this project, and then only we proceed ahead. And so typically, we'll not get into this. So traditional companies, what they do is they say I've got a product, I've got certain functionalities and features and benefits, and this is what we traditional companies focus on. This is what we've been asked to do, and this is what we will help you sell and so on. So this is the traditional approach. So the stereotype messages are like, okay, we've got a very good product, we've got all these social media presentations, and they only talk about the features and benefits and so on. So it is like so much of yourself that you're really talking to people. Instead of that, you should actually be getting to stuff like this, wherein you understand this, sell your value first, discover his pain points, what they are, and then you say, okay, for this problem, this is a solution that we have, and then you fix it, halfway through. So instead of saying straight away take my solution, you discover what his pain point is and settle, then he becomes your friend for life, right? You've seen that kind of selling these days, which happens on all these Instagram followers and all these other social media channels. Like you build a community first and understand that. I think the software meetup is also very good community to fix the problems of a lot of people here. Because all of us come in this room are here because we have got a common interest to know and learn and share about architecture. So it's easy for this audience to be sold on anything related to architecture. It could be a tech talk, or it could be a conference, or it's a book you want to do it. This is like the fertile ground for you to actually sell stuff. So you actually show them the value upfront. In the old world, value is last when he pays and gets this stuff. Here you push money value first, and then discover the pain, bubble it up, and then you actually do it. So I think we will actually they sell the value that. So I just want 2 of you to volunteer for me here and say that okay, one of the guy is gone to a shopping market and he's going to buy water. Like he's going to buy his weekly quota of water, like bottled water. So Bangalore has his water problem. So let us see, he's going to buy some Bisleri, a big jar of bottle and so on. So and then the other guy is like has to wear the role of a salesman. He is actually these AquaGuard or RMO, reverse osmosis kind of a thing, who's selling a water filter. So can you just have 2 volunteers who will actually play that role? So one guy is trying to sell one guy is come to buy in the supermarket bottled water. The other guy is actually going to sell him the water purifier. So can I have some 2 audience from the audience, and I just want you to enact that role. So we'll discover what could he have done better, if you had to take a structured approach and do that. So somebody who's good at selling, raise their hands as a volunteer. I think it's a very difficult thing to ask. Because most technology guys are tech savvy, but they are not sales savvy. So, but still, I think the salesman among you can. I just need one sales guy.
I'm saying perfect, but I can.
Yeah, please come. Please come. Your name?
Bhanu.
Bhanu Prakash. Okay, great Bhanu. So I need one more person who will be the guy who's going to buy his weekly quota of bottled water from him. Anybody? Yeah, please. Your name?
It's Kapon.
Kapon?
Yeah.
Okay, please. So the conversation starts like you can start off. You're just coming and saying, I need so many caskets or cases of water, and you go ahead and say, that your job is to sell the purifier at the end of it, and give you 5 minutes time to do the talking.
So what's the problem with delivery right now? Is dirty water or the water scarcity?
You could make a hypothetical assumption. Basically, you come to buy water, so that's up to him to talk and discover and do whatever it is. So yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, hi. So, I want some water since it's not good.
So I was in search of some good drinking water. So could I take it from you if you have some?
Yeah, sure. We have multiple options. You can either take a set of water cans. We have other option called purifier. There are multiple options for you. So which one would you like to have?
Okay. What is the terms in which you are selling the water? It's like just one can you send, or there's subscription kind of thing? I want to know that first.
There are multiple options again. So let me understand. So where do you stay? You stay nearby in Bangalore. How is the water availability? Do you have water tankers?
No, right now the problem is I take water tanks actually. That's 20 to 30 liters of tank that sustains for a single person for 1 week. So right now I want more sustainable and something which I don't need to worry about at the end of this much of time. Okay. So yeah.
Sure. Then I have one of the good solution, I would say. So which is we have two options, like we said cans. I can give 2 cans a day, etc., etc. But that's sometimes if we don't have people to deliver it, you will have some problems. So to make it sustainable, lengthy, etc., we have another option called purifier. So I can sell it to you, but what happens is you can use it sustainable. Your dependency on the people will be reduced. Whenever the water tanker is coming, whichever it is, you can use it. And on the money wise as well, it's not too much of difference. So water cans may be taking 40 rupees, whereas this also will take about 35 to 45 based on the usage. The advantage is you can very well use it with very less dependency, absolutely helping you to use whenever you want water.
Okay. So one question is what is the range of the what's the cost of the filter you have? What is the cost of it? If I can get an approx.
Yeah. So if we take it water cans, maybe a day 40 rupees. It goes around 30 into 40, 1200 rupees into 12, 24. 100, let's say, and we have about 2,750 is the water filter. There's a 350 rupees difference, but if you see the value, you don't need to call. So it has more, you have to make follow up with a lot of people. All that mental tension you will not have. So that's one of the best one that we can see, which gives the same quality, all the sustainable with the mental peace as well.
Alright, so the thing is, the area that I live in, the water is very muddy, right? And the purifier that you'll be giving, how sure are you that it will be sustaining for more than a week with the same quality of water it's giving me at the start of a week when it was clean? Okay, so there's a hassle of cleaning it after a certain amount of time. So it's a more hectic for me after coming from office, again cleaning it. and again if it's not working, there are other problems, I need to call the mechanics and all. So whereas I find this option is far better, because yeah, I can understand that sometimes the water will be scarce or persons will not be there, but obviously like if the water is going to end like 2 days later, I'll be keeping in mind, okay, I need to call now, so at least there will be a buffer of 2 days for me to order it, right? So I would choose a water like the tanks as preferable to this the water filters that you're trying.
Probably you can give it a try with this option also, but we had already tried this with various other customers also, and from our experience we had seen this is being helpful, solve given mental pace, whereas this one is not that useful for all the customers. So given your situation and the context that you are in the requirements, I suggest this. However, if you really want it, let's give it a try for this, and then you can see the use and how it will be over the way, and you will definitely come back. And coming back to mechanics and all of this, we have like not only we're not just selling it and leaving. So we'll be giving follow-ups. We'll have our own mechanics as well. We will talk to the mechanics and send them to you. And we also have filters which can get rid of the muddy water, etc. In fact, we'll come to your place first and test it for you, show it to you, demo, and then only you can make a decision.
Yeah, thanks. In the interest of time, good. So I think you guys played a good role. Please clap of hands for that. So I think you could find out how the pain was discovered and how he said, like, I give it for a week's time. You play around with the setup, and then only if you're satisfied, then we make the sale to you. So that way it's quite easy to do that, right? So I remember like 20 years back, we bought a TV, it was I think ECTV at that time, and we wanted a color version. So the salesman said, you keep it for a week, if you're happy with that, then you pay us the money. So imagine if somebody tells you that way, then you're more convinced about his ability that he's not going to walk away with your money and he's going to deliver value to you. So that is what is the essence of consultative selling. So if you see this same thing that was enacted here in a structured way, how people could have approached that. So typically, so you are actually going to do something like this. So basically, if you say that, okay, we want to, like the initial questions is you define the situation in which the problem happens. Like, you just say, okay, how are you, like which part of Bangalore you come from, the water is muddy in your area, like how many kids you have got, what's your water intake. So that's the situation. And then based on the situation, you actually discover what is the kind of problem that you're facing. So you could actually say that, okay, how many bottles a day? I think you made a good point, Banu, saying that, okay, if you want this amount of water, then you probably get up, if you buy so many cascades and then you buy this, so it will come to roughly the same money or something. So he's talking about the break-even price of that. So you talk about how many bottles you needed and what would be the typical liters that you would buy. So this is the problem statements that you do. And then you actually define the situation here. This is the pain graph. So situation is S. S is the situation where you describe him, what is the situation or context that he comes from. And then P is the pain graph that you say, okay, it will be, you want to carry one big casket of water and you stay on the 4th floor or the 5th floor of your apartment, and this is not a difficult thing for you to take it from your car, park it and carry it. So you kind of explore that pain further and discover it more, make it more obvious, the pain part of it. And then once you've done that, then you say, if I fit you a proper water filter at your kitchen socket, which is going to do all the dirty job away, it should going to make all your job easy and going to give you potable drinking good healthy water, will you not be happy? And then in 6 months time you're going to break even with the money that you're already spending on this, and then you've got your own water, you don't need to run around from table to table, and you've got to provide you of support and all of that stuff. So you're actually growing on the pain, and then you're putting the I part of it. I is typically the implication question. So if you do this, what all pain is going to go away from your life? You don't have to climb the stairs with that big can of water, you don't have to do that. And then you finally come to the need payoff. Okay, everybody's interested, okay, make an investment. So what is the kind of investment that I can actually get on what I've contributed to that. So if I say that I'm going to spend 30 cascades of water over a period of, I think it will be 120, and if you spend around $540 or something, or 540, this thing, you're going to get some benefit of that in the next 6 months. So in next 6 months, you've actually broken even, and you've actually, so this is a much better way of selling him, rather than just saying, okay, here is what I've got, why don't you take it? So then you appear like a shady person. So you've not met his requirement, and even before meeting his requirement or pain point, you're actually trying to sell him stuff. So even when we're doing selling our software solutions and stuff like that, we need to take into account all of these aspects. But all of us have got 2 ears and 1 mouth, because talk less and hear more from your customers, especially because what you have may not be what he really wants, things like that. So typically when you're using a CRM solution, let us say you're a CRM cloud CRM solution, and you've got a cloud storage provider, and you're trying to sell these solutions to the customer. So what you should typically be doing is use this technique called SPIN, S-P-I-N. S is like the situation, then P is the problem that you define, and I is the implication. In case I solve this problem for you, what is the benefit that you're going to get? What is the implication of using it or not using it? And the N is the need payoff, that the cherry on the cake, which means if I do it like this, what is the benefit you're going to get? So if you do this framework properly as requirement gathering people right in the beginning of your architecture, because most of us here are typically working on some requirements which already somebody has factored at the product strategy team, or like the way he said, the marketing team has already done, the pre-sales team has already done the job of selling it, and then it has come to your table. So we don't question whether we are climbing the right wall or not in our solution. So there is a bigger thing that needs to be done on whether you're walking the digital journey properly or not. In today's time, the same solution could be solved by 3 guys, but the customer will prefer one better person, things like that. So the classic example of that is there's this insurance vendor who actually sold us a solution. So how many here actually know what is going digital in your requirements gathering? What is meant by going digital in your requirements gathering?
Take the advantage of the new technology like
Okay.
ML and
Okay, yeah. So this is a classic example. Like a lot of people say, I want to use big data, AI, ML, artificial intelligence, IoT, and solve my problem, or robotics or robotic process intelligence and solve the problem. So that's what typically say. But going digital is gone beyond that. So what has happened is you need to, as architects, as people who talk to customers and understand their pain points and craft solutions, you should be putting yourself in the shoes of the customer and gathering requirements. So there's a classic thing about, there were 2 insurance vendors. So one was the old world insurance person who was actually selling insurance the old way, right? You got a car insurance, so in case your car meets with an accident. So one has got the old world, the other is a digitally tailored insurance solution. So to show this, there was a nice video which illustrated this point. So the US highway, there were 2 cars which was going. One guy is driving a Honda or a Toyota, and the other guy is driving a BMW. So both guys are speeding on the highway, and the BMW guy, for some reason, is using the digitally transformed car insurance solution. The other guy is using a less transformed, the old world insurance solution. So the BMW guy speeds in front, this car comes in the back and hits it, the back, and they have an accident. So at that point of time, both of them get down, and typically, like the way the accidents are discussed, they discuss, okay, what really happened, whose fault was it? And then they figure out that the BMW guy has got a pop-up which comes from his car saying that, okay, your car is met with an accident, just stay on the highway, we are sending a drone to capture the accident footage of your car. And then a drone comes in a couple of minutes, takes the footage of it, see your tail thing is, fender is broken, and these parts are damaged. Is this the only claim that you want to make? If so, press yes. And if no, don't do it. So it takes, and then he says, this is the only thing that you want to claim as insurance. And that's what, and a couple of minutes later, again he gets another message saying that we understand your car is met with an accident. We are sending a towaway truck to put your car and take it to the nearest workstation. And a couple of minutes later, we are sending an Uber on the way. So you're going to walk up, you can just sit in the Uber and go to your home. So this guy, like in 10 minutes after the accident, he just walks in, sits in the Uber and goes to his home as if nothing really happened. Whereas the old world guy is still pressing on the operator, press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish, like, and listening to those funny tunes, and still his problem is not solved. So you could solve the same problem in a digital way where you understand the context of the customer and sell him. You understand the context of the customer and sell him. So those kind of skills require consultative selling, and more companies are actually asking architects and decision makers to actually learn techniques like spin and all, understand the situation, define the problem, find out, spell out the implication, and then actually check out the need payoff analysis. So if you've done that, then you're actually selling him a context aware solution which is going to meet the digitally transformed world. So you should be having those things, you should be able to question your requirements from your customers and don't take it for granted that whatever he gives is the nice thing for us to do. I agree that most of the time it's not very practical because requirements come from US or Europe where your decision makers are saying, and they say as long as we are paying the money, you do it. But if you have a way about it, then make sure that
domain knowledge also.
Yes, domain knowledge is very important, for which there is an increasingly new body of knowledge called business architecture that is coming in. Earlier it was the job of a business analyst to craft business requirements, and it was the job of the product owner to craft them. But now the art and science has gone slightly beyond that, so they call it as business architects or digital practitioners. So these people are the ones who want to don the hat of a decision maker and figure out whether you're doing the right things in your architecture or product or strategy. So based on that, you actually do that. So we'll take a quick example of, let us say you're trying in the job of selling a cloud or a CRM solution like Banu and Karkolki, both of them enacted. So if you're doing that, then how do you approach this? So typical situation questions are like if you're a CRM vendor, okay, you initially start the customization and build a rapport with the customer and say, okay, what is happening in your CRM solution? What is the sales pipeline? What is the amount of information that you need to get from your sales cycle? So is the CRM solution able to do that? So you ask those high level general questions, get the conversation warmed up, and then typically if you're a cloud storage provider, then you ask, okay, are you going to do with horizontal or vertical scaling? What's your licensing requirements? What is your encryption requirement? What is your SLA uptime, downtime? So you just ask him at a generic level, what is that he's expecting from you as a cloud storage provider. So once you do this part of it, then you go down to the actual problem and say, okay, now you come to the problem part of it. Sorry. So you come to the problem and then you say that, okay, what problem are you facing with your CRM solutions? What is the exact thing you're doing? And then, okay, you define you take a status of his downtime, uptime of his actual storage requirements, what is the pricing structure that he's familiar with, what is the cloud provider he needs to go with, from Google, Azure or ACP, which one you need to pick up. And then you define the problem very clearly. And once that happens, then you go to the implication part of it and discover that, okay, in case he uses this CRM, this particular feature, where do you match, mix and match and so on. So you go to the implication part. And then after that, you typically go to, so you could discover this, if it doesn't go with this solution, what would happen? If it doesn't go with this level of encryption, will it meet his regulatory requirements, or if he's in banking or if he's in the financial space, that kind of stuff. And then you actually see the need payoff part. So if you do this, then how are you going to be benefited? What is the ROI on your investment and so on? So basically, if you go with this provider, then if you do ingress, egress across the cloud locations, you actually get so much of dollars in revenue, and this would pay off over a period of time, and you come to that. So this is a structured way of how typically companies are approaching conventional requirements gathering, or eventually you take up requirements, finally it's a sale, right, that's involved. So they are defining it using frameworks like this, and there are companies who actually done this. So IBM calls it consultative selling instead of spin. So they have a similar thing. They have a discovery meeting, then they have insight meeting, synergy meeting, and solution workshop. So that actually typically follows the same things that we are talking about in the spin thing. So in the initial phase, they have these meetings one-on-one that they do and discover the pain points, understand the situation. And here the pain is more clearly defined, and it is exploded to a greater degree that you are able to then the third stage is you are actually giving them a solution saying that, okay, this is what we can actually provide to fix your pain. And then the last meeting is, okay, did you get any insights based on which we can plan our investments or return on investment and so on. So this is typically the case. So you actually do that, and so a lot of companies are using this, and as architects, as you go higher up the ladder, you are expected to know this, because you'll all be decision makers at one point of time or the other in your career, and you will need to know this. So typically you will need all of these kind of templates, consultative selling versus. Yeah, so typically it is like an old lady who wants to sell her an insurance plan. She'll be more happy that, okay, if you give her an impression that I care more about your money than you do yourself. If you give her that impression, she'll buy you the insurance solution from you or your investment plan from you better. So these are all classic examples of that. And my own pain point was I wanted to buy basically a reader for PDFs and books and so on. So I just went to the sales guy and said, I want a Kindle, and this is my requirement. Then before that he said, you want a Kindle, but for what's your use? I said, I don't want to strain my eyes because it's very bright, the normal LCD screens are very bright and all. I want a much think like a newspaper kind of feel. He said there's an Acer tablet these days which actually you can set the thing to get that newspaper like feel, and for double the price of a Kindle you are getting much better features. You can read color, you can read bar graphs, you can read PDF charts, not just text. Kindle is like only text, and you can't even browse or you can check your emails. So double the cost. He actually sold me, I went to buy a Kindle, but he sold me an Acer tab. So you can imagine how consultative selling works. So this is my own example that I can quote to you based on what I felt. And typically this is a bike store experience, so unless you sit with your customers and tailor solutions, you'll really not understand. So this is a guy who actually bought biking shorts, and then he was doing biking. Biking is a good way to stay healthy and all that. So he found out his shorts being torn at the thigh here, and there's always, he changes his shorts, and then he says that he went to the shorts vendor and said, all the shorts that you've given me are all being torn in the particular place, and you've got a very bad set of things I don't want to buy. But he said, no, wait, let me see how you are actually sitting on the bike. And then he found out there is a metal protrusion at the place where his shorts were touching it, where the customer had not noticed himself. And said, it's because you need to change that part of it and cover it with leather, and then that will fix your actual problem. And it's not the problem with the shorts, it's problem with your bike that you need to. So we need to figure out these kind of things in our products and solutions by staying very close to the customer, and he said understanding the domain of the customer closely and then solving stuff. Otherwise we'll be meeting solutions halfway. So I think this is a very high level intro about how to go about consultative selling. And this was asked by one of my customers that they wanted a workshop on this. So I thought it will be relevant to the audience here. And I think this is typically the end of my presentation.